Hi, welcome back to my channel. I wanted to say that I do hope to give you more book related content on this channel, but it's going to take some time for me to really feel comfortable making videos on a consistent basis. There's a disconnect there with me when it comes to videos versus my blog. The blog is fine. It gets thousands of reviews every month. I post every single day on it, but coming to the channel, that's a bit of a challenge. But I thought I would at least give you my mid-year wrap-up. Now, I have read 364 books this year so far as of the end of June because it's my mid-year wrap-up. Now, as of the making of this video, July 13th, I have read 31 books, but we're not going to talk about those. We're just going to look at we're going to focus this video on the mid-year wrap-up. That would include, if you look at the calendar from January 1st to June 30th, that's 181 days. So if you divide 364 into 181 into 364, it averages to 2 books a day. I kind of like that that's what the average ends up being, because I find that there are days where I'll read 3 or 4 books, even 5 books one day this month, and then for the next 3 days only read 1 book a day, and then the 4th or 5th day a book for over a course of 2 days. So I love the average. I didn't create that average, but I love how it averaged out like that. So at some point while I'm having this little part of the discussion, I'm going to pop up my screenshot from a Goodreads Challenge Group that shows that my goal is 500 books for the year. With these statistics, I have many statistics, but it would be too voluminous to bring all that into a short video. But for April, for example, I read 73 books, whereas in January, at the beginning of the year, I only read 50, and then I think in June I read 56. So it just depends, but like I said, the average is better than the actual numbers each month. It's just what I'm able to ingest on a daily / weekly / monthly basis. Now, I want to tell you about some of the books that have captured my interest. One is Amish romances, Amish fiction, or Christian fiction, however you want to refer to it. I'm reading more and more of these, and I'm finding it to be pretty much one of my most enjoyable genres. I did read some Own Voices books this year. One was Becoming by Michelle Obama. Another was The Measure of a Man by Sidney Poitier. Both of these I did via audio, and in each case the authors narrated their own books, so that was a nice treat. I also got to read or listen to The Measure of a Man. Oh, I did mention that, I'm sorry. I also got to read Born a Crime by Trevor Noah, and that was another excellent read. Then there was An American Marriage by Tiari Jones. That was fiction, but it really touched on the pulse of what happens to black men in America. Another one was Saving Ruby King by Catherine Adele West. This is a debut novel. Again, it was fiction, but it hit about a young woman on the south side of Chicago in the aftermath of her mother's murder. And it was really an excellent story, and I hope that this author gets a lot of reach, because I think she did a great job in that book. Sorry for moving my papers around. I'm kind of nervous. Okay, now series. I am a series fanatic. I'll put it like that. I caught up on the Leslie Meyer Lucy Stone series. I think there's 26 or 27 books in that series. In February, I was up to date, so sometime this fall or winter, I imagine she'll have the next book. Then I read the Karen Slaughter series, which are the Grant County series and the Will Trent series. Now, the Grant County series had, I think, 6 books, and that series is done. It's finished. And now she moved on to the Will Trent series. I can't tell you how many. I will have a screenshot with the amount of books, and that series is continuing. I also am completely caught up with Iris Johansson's Eve Duncan series, and that includes Persuasion, which will be out this fall. That's number 26. And then I'm also caught up with her Kendra Michaels series and her Catherine Ling series. Again, I'll give you screenshots. I think, then I want to mention the J.D. Robb In Death series. As of the end of June for this half a year, I read 34 of her books in June in 2020. In all total, however, during the month of July, I read 4 more, but we're talking about the first half of the year. I think if I didn't already mention, I don't think I mentioned Catherine Coulter's FBI series. I want to mention that because there's 24 books in that series, and I've read the latest, which is Deadlock, which again won't be out until September or October, and so I'm caught up with that. I'm also caught up with her Brit in the FBI series, and I imagine that there will be another book in that series, but I don't know anything about that one yet. Now, I've read some YA fantasy this year, which is totally my least favorite genre. Well, no, my least favorite genre is horror or paranormal. I don't read either one of those. But YA fantasy is pretty low on the totem pole for me. But I have read some Ilona Andrews books. I've read Aurora Burning. I read Cinder. I even reread the Hunger Games trilogy in order to read the prequel, which is the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. So I'm kind of broadening my horizons just a little bit. I read something which is more like NA, which is new adult, and that's The Royal We and The Air Affair. The Air Affair is not out yet, but I have got them both as print arcs and digital arcs for that matter, and I've read both of those. A discovery that I made, and it was again because of a challenge, and otherwise I don't know when I would have found this author, and that is Kristin Hannah. Oh my word, I love her. I've only read a few of her books so far this year, and that's Firefly Lane, Fly Away, The Nightingale, True Colors, and Summer Island. And I do have Winter Garden in my TBR for this year. Now, if I do finish up with the J.D. Robb series before the next book is released, I do intend on reading as many of Kristin Hannah's books as I can. I will mention a couple other things. I'm sorry, I needed to look at the next page. Another series that I am reading, but I'm not really making a lot of progress in, is the Joanna Fluke Hannah Rayburn series, and that's just because of time, not because of quality of work. I love it. I read the first 5, and there's 27 in the series. I do have them all. I just have to take the time to read them. Another series, or a couple of series that I've enjoyed reading, is by an author named named Carol Wire, and her Robin Carter series, which I did finish back in 2019, but I do want to mention that series because I do recommend it. But it's the Natalie Ward series, with the newest book being The Secret Admirer, which I read, and I think it just came out like 2 days ago. And there's 7 books in that series, and now she has an upcoming series, and that's the Detective Kate Young series. So I just wanted to mention her. She stands out to me. Historical fiction is another genre that I absolutely love, and there's 3 books that I wanted to mention that stand out to me for 2020. One I've already mentioned, which is The Nightingale by Kristin Hannah. Another one is The Black Swan of Paris by Karen Robards. And a third book that I'll recommend is The Jane Austen Society by Natalie Jenner. Now, I've read at least 20 historical fiction books this year, but those 3 stand out to me. And lastly, I'll mention a couple other books, just 3 more books I'm going to mention. One is Photos of You by Tammy Robinson. It's a tearjerker from the first page to the last page, but it was just a really, really good read. It makes me think of a book that I kind of want to talk about now that I just read, but it was only a few days ago, so therefore it's a July read, so I won't mention it in this video. Last but not least, I'll mention 2 Riley Saga books that I got to read. One is Final Girls, and the next one is Home Before Dark, which either just came out or will be out. And that makes me up to date with the Riley Saga books, which is something I felt like I really needed to have done, so that there's some authors that I know that I'm going to always want to read. I will mention one more series that I haven't read any of in 2020, but I'm completely caught up with, except for one book. And I think there's 26 or 27 books in this series, and it's it's James Patterson's Alex Cross series. So I have the latest book, which is Crisscross, in my TBR for next week. And then if I catch up on those, I want to catch up on other series of his, which is the Women's Murder Club. And I'm coming from the top of my head. I put my notes down because this is a last minute thought. The Women's Murder Club and Michael, I can't think of the guy's name, but there's a series with him, and I have almost all of those books, so I want to get those read. And two other series that James Patterson has written that I also want to catch up on. And it's okay that I neglect to remember those because I haven't read them this year. But hopefully by the time I do my wrap up for the end of the year, I will say, hey, I got to read the rest of those James Patterson series that I absolutely love. And I guess that's it. So I'm going to shut my mouth. I'm going to take a day or two or even more to edit this video and hopefully get it up on my blog very soon. Excuse me, not my blog, my channel here on YouTube very soon. And we'll see what other book related content I can bring you. I do have something in mind. I may shoot a video on that later and see how that works. But for now, thank you for your time, and I will see you again soon. Bye-bye.